Hi, welcome back. In this episode, we're going to fix two minor rust spots on this fender well on the front of a fender on an 86 Pontiac Parisienne. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification button. Subscribing helps me out big time. I'm hoping to hit 1,000 subscribers by January 2025. So let's hope we get there. And don't forget to check me out on Instagram at Clara Garage. Let's get started. Alright, so we have two spots on this fender we need to fix. There was a third spot, but I fixed that in a previous video. It's not edited yet and posted as the time that I'm recording this. I don't know which episode it's going to be, but it'll be posted probably 1 or 2 episodes before this gets posted, depending on how things go for me. So, but I'll just show you a quick shot of what I did over there. So this is the spot that I fixed in a previous video. This is what was there, and that's what there's now. So if you want to see how I did that, definitely go check it out. And then these are the spots we're going to fix now. I already got it marked out roughly how I'm thinking I'm going to cut it out, as well as down and in there. And as you can see, it's a lot of surface rust on here, and it's getting pretty close to being holes. It's not holes yet, but it's pretty close. And then same with this spot here, it has actually begun to be a hole. But we're going to remove that. I have it marked out as well. I put this tape on here, so when I was cleaning everything up, I wouldn't get too carried away and get too far, so it'll help keep my edges nice. And I've already gone ahead and made some templates. So I made a template so I keep this radius here nice. And I put 2 paint marks on the fender as well as on here so I can line them up so I'm in the right spot, because the shape of the fender, well, it changes depending where you are. So I want to make sure that I have it in the right spot so I get the right shape. And then on the other side of this, I used this bottom corner with this edge here, so I didn't make any marks because I know that's the edge that I used. So I have it for here as well, so I can help keep that radius. And then I made my templates a little bit different this time. I did the tape trick. Usually I make them out of cardboard. I've seen lots of people using tape, so I figured I'd try it. So I ended up just sticking the tape on the fender. And then while I was on the fender, I traced out all my ridges. So I went with my marker and I just kind of drew a line on this edge, and there's another edge down below. And I was able to see through the tape to trace out my paint lines, have a pretty good idea of how it goes. So that just fits just like so. So it's not too bad. And then when I took it off, I put tape on the back side so it's not sticky, so it's nice and easy to handle and it's a little more robust. And then I copied that over to my metal, and I did my metal a little bit bigger so I have a little bit of extra room for fine fitting once I get my shape in it. But this piece of metal will be up here, and this is 20 gauge. And I did the same thing for down here. I made just a little template using the tape. The tape did actually work out pretty good. This piece is a little bit funkier than this piece, because this radius here and this portion here kind of extends. So it has some funky curves. This has some funky curves too. And I did the same thing. I used a little bit bigger than what I need. So then it gives me a little room for trimming or if there's something that I missed. And then I also made some templates for to gauge this. When I slip that on, it gives me a nice shape so I can, when I'm shaping my piece of metal, I can put it on. I know if I'm getting close. And then I made 2 for down here. And as you can see, just looking at them, they're not quite the same. So I did one right around this lower line, so right about there. But then this portion here is steeper, so I made another one for up there. So we're going to leave this metal in for now, and we're going to start shaping our pieces of metal that we cut out. I like to leave this intact for as long as possible, if I can, that when there's metal here like this, it gives me a good reference. I can look at it, I can triple check stuff. Because once I cut it out, then it's kind of out, right? So I like to, when I can, start shaping my metal, and it gives me a good comparison. Then there's less questions. And then once I'm really close, or I think I got it, then usually I'll cut it out and then do my final fitment on my metal before I weld it in. Okay, so we're going to start bending our metal up. So I traced these lines onto here, but then I did a straight line from here to here, so you can see roughly how much of a radius is going to be in here. I have enough metal on the bottom here. I'm just going to bend a straight line instead of trying to do a curved line, and then I'm going to use my stretcher along here to stretch this into the radius that I need. I think that'll be a little bit easier, and I'll do the same thing on this piece as well. So I could go and do it on the brake, but I'm going to do it just using the vise right here, just because it's this fits in nice. It's not that much of a 90 we're bending, and then I don't got to move the camera or anything either, which is kind of nice. So we're going to set this in at those lines, and then we're going to hammer and fold it over. Alright, now we're going to use our hammer, and we're just going to slowly work back and forth until we get our 90. So that's looking pretty good. So now we'll be able to go with our stretcher, and we'll be able to stretch along here. And then after we do that, we're going to have a bend down here we're going to have to do too. But we're not quite there yet. I'm going to bend the 90 on this at the same time, and then we can do the radius on both of them at the same time. And that's our other piece. So that turned out pretty good as well. So now I'm going to use my stretcher. I haven't made a stand for it yet, so I'm just going to put it in the vise. It will work fine. And then on my template, I marked where the piece of metal is. So this is the portion here that we got to get to this radius. And then same thing on this other piece here. We need a little bit less, but we got to get to that radius as well. So we're just looking at it here and getting an idea of how much we need to bend it. So we're just going to do one pass all the way across nice and light and try not to overdo it. If we do overdo it, we can put it in the shrinker and bring it back in. So we're just going to put some pressure down. Alright, that's one passes quite a bit actually. And we overshot, so we're just going to go in the shrinker real quick and we're just going to shrink it back in a little. Alright, I just did a quick pass on the shrinker, and I fixed our overshoot there, so that's fitting pretty nice now. And now we're going to do just a little bit on this other piece on the stretcher, and we're going to be a little more careful not to overshoot. And that looks really good on that one. So we should be good to go to the next step on both pieces. So now we're going to remark our line, and then it'll give us something good to follow. And then we're going to go over and just triple check it on the car real quick. So now we're going to go in the plenishing hammer, and we're going to, along this line, give it a slight kick down. So we're going to run along this line. We're going to use a little bit of downward force, just nice and easy back and forth to start getting the shape in. So we're trying to get a little bit of shape in here. I'm going to go and just do a little shrink on this section to help fold it over. And I'm going to go double check on the fender to see how close it is too. Alright, we're starting to get our shape into it now. It still needs quite a bit more work. Putting our template on it, we're starting to get close, but we're not quite there yet. So I want to start doing this bend here. I went on the bead roller to kind of help initiate it. And now I'm going to go with my comma dolly. I have it in my vise, and I'm going to hammer and get this bent over more to get my shape. And then we'll be getting pretty close. We have a little bit of cleanup to do on this front edge. It's slightly wonky, and it's going to take a little bit of extra work to get it where it needs to be, but we're getting there. Alright, we're starting to get pretty close there. So I want to check everything out, make sure that we're not getting too distorted. So looking on here, we need to get a little more radius back in this way. We lost it a little bit, but we'll be able to get that back. Alright, so we finished making this piece. Once we get the fender cut out and do final fitment, might have to do little touches up here or there before we weld it in. But it's pretty close. It's going to be pretty good. So here's our profile template that we made. And it hugs it pretty nice. So it should be basically scribe it out and then a little bit of fine tuning maybe and weld it in. And then a little hammer and dolly once we grind the welds, and it should be good. So now we're going to finish this piece here. So we're going to go on the plenishing hammer, and we're going to do this line here, and then we can do our roll out on it once we get this line done. So we're going to go over to the plenishing hammer now, and we're going to get to work on that. Alright, I got my two spots marked out where I want to cut them. So on this one here, I went with my scribe. I scribed it, but it's hard to see the line. So then I went on the inside of the line with a black marker. So basically I just got to cut on that line, it'll be pretty good. And then the other one, I kind of held the piece up to it, and I'm going to cut exactly where my original white paint stick marks were, and I can trim it out from there if I need to. So that's what it looks like there. I'm going to cut right on the white line, and it should be good. And then up here, I scribed it, and then I went just on the inside of my scribe line with the black marker. And now I can cut both of these spots out, and then do the final fitment for the new ones going in. Alright, I got both pieces in place and fitting pretty good. There's the one piece there. It's not too bad, it feels pretty good, it's ready to be welded. And here's the other piece here, it feels really good as well. So we're ready to weld both of those in place. So I'm going to go with the MIG welder, and I'm going to start tacking it in, hammer and dolling as needed if things start to get out of place on me. But between the two spots, I'm going to bounce back and forth, and that'll help keep the heat down in those two areas, which will help. And then on this piece here, there's a bracket in behind, so I did some holes in it so I can do some rosebud welds, so I can attach it so it's good installed like it's supposed to be from the factory. I also, both these pieces, I painted the back side of them, I primed and painted them, so they're going to be not non-accessible, but a little harder to do afterwards. And I know when I weld, it's going to burn some of the paint off the back, but it won't be, there'll still be more coverage there. If I can't do a very good job getting in and getting it reprotected, it'll still be more protected than not doing that at all. So I'm going to start welding this in. We're just going to take our time, and hopefully it turns out good. Alright, I got those tacked in place. I'm going to keep going around real slow. I'm going to go with the wire brush and keep it clean as I go. And that's what it's looking like so far. Just a couple little tacks just to get started. And when you're making your metal pieces, if you're having a really hard time getting the perfect shape that you need and it doesn't quite match, if you ever have to cheat it, make sure that the new metal that you're putting in is just slightly lower than the original metal, because you can always use a little bit of putty or Bondo or Marglass to skim over if you really needed to, and you can sand it so it looks perfect. We don't want to have a lot of mud on our projects, but sometimes that's what you need to do to get it perfect if you're just struggling. So if you do have to do that, that's the way to do it, because you don't want your new metal to be higher than the original metal, because then when you put your filler inlet on to make it look perfect and start sanding, you're going to have this high spot that's going to jump out from a mile away. So it's better to have just a dash more mud on it to get that perfect mirror smooth finish, versus trying to be so perfect that you end up being a little bit high. So we definitely want to try to be as perfect as we can, but some pieces are harder to make than others, and it's always better to be slightly in than slightly out, because you can always fix slightly in with your fillers, but slightly out you're back to hammering and dolling, trying to drive it in further, or even worse, cutting out what you just made and starting from scratch. So I'm gonna keep going with this, and when I'm all done welding, we'll come back. I got these welded in. Turned out not too bad. Welds are a little bit ugly in spots, but we gotta grind them anyways. So that's what I'm gonna do next. I'm gonna start grinding the welds down, and then I'll do whatever touch-up welds need to be done, and then we'll be ready for our final finish. I got these welded in, and I got them grinded down. I went over them quickly with the sander. They turned out not too bad. A couple spots could have been the hair better, but we'll be able to fix that when we put the mud on. It probably is going to look worse on camera than it actually is in person. It's just enough to kind of feel. But here they are. There's our lower one here, right in this section. It turned out not too bad. And there's our upper one up here, from here to here. It turned out pretty good up here, and then just a little bit right there. So, but with a quick skimmer, I have to skim this anyways, and then a little bit of build-up primer and a final block sand before we paint, and it's going to be pretty good. So this one turned out excellent down here. I'm very happy with that. That's going to be look pretty good when it's done. The whole thing's going to look pretty good when it's done. Hope you enjoyed watching and found it a little bit helpful. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification button. Subscribing helps me a lot, so definitely please subscribe. Don't forget to check me out on Instagram at Clara Garage. Have a great night.